Welcome back, dude and dudettes, to another wild episode of Send It Mate. We're here to talk about all things hunting and outdoors. And today, we've got something that'll keep your gear running smoother than a dingo's getaway.
That's right. Our show is brought to you by High Caliber, the gun and knife oil company that knows how to keep your firearms and blades in tip-top shape.
High Caliber is like the secret sauce for hunters, anglers, and outdoorsy folk everywhere. It's like the magic potion that makes your gun and knives happier than a dog with two tails.
You know, guys, I've been using high caliber oil for a while now, and let me tell you, it's the duck's nuts. My rifle practically sings a lullaby when I take it out hunting.
And speaking of lullabies, ever tried sneaking up on a deer with a squeaky gun? It's a prime way to end up with no venison in the freezer. You'll be hungrier than a vegan at a bacon festival.
Absolutely. But with High Caliber oil, your gun will be quieter than a ninja in moonlight. You'll be stalking your prey with the grace and stealth of a mountain lion.
High caliber doesn't just keep things quiet, it also prevents rust and corrosion, so you won't find your gear looking like it spent a season at the bottom of a creek.
That's right, and for you knife enthusiasts out there, High Caliber has got you covered too. Your trusty blade will slice through anything smoother than butter on a hot biscuit.
So, folks, don't let your gear become a rusty, squeaky mess. Head on over to highcaliber.com.au and grab a bottle of their oil today.
And if you use the code SENDITMATE at checkout, you'll get a special discount. I say again, use the code SENDITMATE for all your oil slick, stealthy hunting needs.
Thanks to High Caliber, you'll be sending it in style and silence.
So, gear up, oil up, and send it, mate. High Caliber, the ultimate oil for the ultimate hunter.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome along once again. Send It Mate podcast.
What up,
This
bitches?
is Caleb.
And I'm Josh.
I am Ryan.
Welcome. How you guys going?
How's your week been?
Fucking brilliant, right? Fucking brilliant.
We're shutting that down straight away,
I've had
Josh.
some highs.
I'm just asking how you are. Just in general. How you going?
He's going.
Yeah, not bad. Not bad at all.
You're just going to give me a generic response.
Fucking oath he is. He's got his shirt on.
I mean,
Well, actually, I've got Caleb's shirt
You
on.
got. You got.
Oh, dear.
correct. And by shirt,
Wow.
you mean jacket. Because you were a little bit cold tonight.
A bit cold on the nipples.
She's getting nippy.
If anyone's nipples are going to feel it, it's yours because they are oversized for a man.
They're
Can we
quite
start
large.
talking about my nipples?
Well, how can we possibly stop talking about your nipples when they're on show at all times?
They're not today because I'm wearing a
It's
shirt.
like they're like a painting of the person's face that keeps looking at you no matter where you are. in the room.
the eyes keep following you.
Yeah, it's like it doesn't matter where I go. I feel like your nips are just eyeballing me,
Yeah.
even through your shirt. It's like you're wearing a shirt.
Pretty sexy nips.
Not really. I don't think that's an attribute in a man that you look for.
Oh, God.
Yeah,
Just
Certainly not what I look for in a mate.
He's just jealous because
Really?
I've got a chest.
I mean, I look for mates with big nips,
Well,
big hearts.
I'll give you some feedback, actually. I had feedback on your chest recently from a female listener
Oh yeah,
who said, is Josh's chest getting to a point where they're starting to look a little bit too big? Like, are they starting to look like breasts?
Because I monitor that shit, so I don't lift heavy for chest, and I just do. And actually, I sort of do. I don't know, a bit of a routine every night doing push-ups just to.
just get to rip.
Which is a chest exercise.
Yeah, that's
Because let's face it, when you get older, there's a lot of dudes out there that grow man tits.
Moobs.
moves. Oh,
Can you call it moobs?
Moobs? I don't know if you can
or
call it
man
that.
tits?
you can just man tits, moves, man boobs. I don't think dudes get offended with that sort of shit. So
Not really.
we're always going to be. It's moobs is like a thing since the 80s, dude.
I mean, I'm an owner of a pair of moobs, not to any like big extent, but I don't have clearly defined pecs like you, Joshua. So,
Yeah.
kudos to you, my friend.
Yeah,
That's all right.
I just got like a solid head. Like my chest hair stops when my pecs stop, so it's like a curtain that hides all of the lack of
All your imperfections.
all my imperfections. Yeah,
Anything looks better if you shave all the hair off it, though. So,
no, I certainly don't. Not at all.
100% porn star.
Have you ever seen a chicken with all of its feathers missing? That's what I look like.
Oh, shit.
All right.
Wild.
All right, so today's topic. Right?
No, hang on. Wait, we haven't even done POI yet, mate. Just
Hang on.
fucking.
I'm not
What are you
looking at
doing?
this
What are you doing? You're jumping the gun.
I'm jumping the gun. Every episode, there's someone jumping the fucking gun, which is
I know you're excited, Ryan.
Intended. I'm fucking excited.
I know you're excited, but we got to do POI, mate. That's what we roll with first.
Do it.
And this week we're gonna list the top 5 results we got to our poll,
Oh yeah.
which we put out last week. Which is what are the most ridiculous things you've taken camping /
We have
fishing /
had
hunting.
some fucking hilarious responses as well.
So I'll read out some of our favourites. We'll do 5 just to keep it short. Thanks to everyone who responded, by the way. It's always
Solid
amusing
effort.
to say the least when we put a poll up.
Solid effort by the listeners. Thank you.
And here we go. All right, so Cody Gearon, your mum.
Yeah, it's pretty strange.
What's the strangest thing you've ever taken camping? Your mum. Was there a bit of dialogue that followed that though?
Oh, there was a bit. So I said, I actually went back to him on that. I'm like, well, that's pretty funny. All right. Well played to you, sir. And I said, was she any good? And he then followed that up with, yeah, she weighed the tent down. That was about it.
Actually, we sort of take a camp mum with us every time we go hunting.
Oh, we do take a care, mum.
And that would be Caleb.
Got to make sure we're lighting the fire in the right spot. Got to
He
make sure
has
we got
a flat
tent set up.
chest, though, as we've just covered.
He's got moobs. That's not flat.
It's 2021, dude.
Yeah, he's got a dad bod. He's like attractive to 70% of the female population, apparently, according to Cleo.
According to Cleo.
Dude, I could make a living with my cuddles.
You could sell your bod.
I could actually. I could be a high-class cuddle escort.
That's a thing, though, isn't it?
It is a
It's
fucking thing.
That's a fucking thing. People pay to have people cuddle them.
I can make a solid living spooning people.
Would you?
Would you be big spoon or little spoon?
Big spoon, of course.
I don't mind being little spoon every now and then.
Really?
Yeah.
That's bizarre.
Yeah,
It's
that
hard
is.
to find someone who can be the big spoon, though. I'm 6'4". It's like if you get a fucking spatula and put a teaspoon next to it. That's the
That's a
equivalent.
great analogy.
Yeah, man. That's how it goes.
I feel like the demographic who can spoon you is men or netballers, female netballers.
yeah.
Would you your clientele basis include men
Would you give men a sweet card
for the
would you-
right price?
For the right price.
I just imagine it being like rich dudes that just are super fucking lonely and want someone to give them some affection, and you're like their last point of call. So you're the guy who's keeping these guys together.
What if you cracked a fat while you're spooning a dude?
It's 2021.
Well, do what everyone does and just sort of put your hips forward a little bit. Just,
Just a bit of grind.
just
a grind.
it's complimentary for them.
Yeah.
I draw the line at reach rounds.
Rusty trumpets, anybody?
Old mate Aussie Arrow, hunting blowpipe.
What the fuck?
That's pretty cool, actually. Yeah.
But that's not. Unless he poisons the dart? What
Oh,
is that going to
chicken?
do?
Kill a
You
chicken.
could not kill a chicken with a blowpipe.
We need to ask him.
I
actually.
beg to differ because South Americans kill like monkeys and deer and
Yeah,
shit
with
with a blow
poison
dart.
tipped darts.
Yeah, poison
Yeah.
tips.
But still, it's still a dart.
Unless you're like got some ridiculous lungs on you, you're not going to get the penetration.
Yeah, bro. You need solid pedo, man, if you're going to fuck a chicken.
Your laugh is fucking quite evil then. Penetration.
It's a good word. It's my
Solid
top 3
giggle.
words to use. Penetration.
Actually, I'm going to jump in with that because I can semi-relate to that. We took a conifer bear trap out hunting with us once, and it worked. If you remember, we were
For those
we
playing at
go.
home, what's the kind of bear
for
trap?
fuck's
I
sake,
could have predicted that.
fucking Google it, man.
No, we need to inform our listeners.
So it's a body trap. So it's basically two steel frames that you push them together, and they're under tension of two arms that are like springs, sort of thing. And then there's a trip, and there's a chain.
It's like a
pegging
square.
to the
So
ground.
it's just
Yeah,
like
it's a square.
It's a square that's held together with.
Oh, it's like an
springs.
X.
Yeah, and then you like fold it out, similar to the old school like the claw traps, And then there's a pad?
Not quite, no, because it stands vertically, not horizontal. So you put it like in a race or at the front of a warren, like
What's
a
a
rabbit
race?
warren or something like that, like a race. So like a path that small game have used.
So when Daddy Rabbit goes out for a jog in the morning because it's a soft J, he may get trapped in a Conobear trap.
Yeah, but we used it when we went to Vic one
we
year.
did. That was bloody good.
And it actually worked. And we had only put it, so we were staying in the quarters there. We were on the balcony. And we were actually finished hunting for the night. We were drinking, having a few beers.
That's right. I
And we were
remember.
sitting there and we put it near the old dairy shed.
Yeah.
And just done our little race. And we're all sitting there. Next minute, and we're like, what the fuck was that? And I just straight away, I was like, oh my God, it worked. We caught a rabbit. Didn't kill it though. Actually, if you remember, I released it from the trap and I gave you the rabbit, Caleb. And then I don't know what happened.
Okay. Well, there you go. I do want to know, though, what Aussie Arrow was going for with a blowpipe.
Yeah, we're going to hit him up, find out.
We will
Yeah,
find
definitely.
out. All right. Mr. Bradley Bell. Anal beads.
Yes.
I mean, is that a ridiculous item to take camping?
I don't think it's ridiculous. It depends. If you're out with the missa, you're trying, sleeping under the stars, you're spooning a little bit, you crack one, you run your hand down her hip to find out and then she pushes back. Next minute, you got anal beads. I can see how that would work.
That's not the standard progression I think most people would go with, but okay.
It's a progression.
Yeah, I
nonetheless.
can't see how
Progression
you'd wanna
nonetheless.
take anal beads out bush. But I mean, it's 2021.
Is there a dual purpose we can be using anal beads for?
A grot wire, maybe? I don't know.
It depends on what sort of anal beads they are. If they're like the ones that are really small and they get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, I mean, you could use it to plug a hole in a tent or something.
Well, didn't we discuss recently that
The tent is your proverbial ass.
we did discuss recently that there is a role that exists in abattoirs of the guy who puts a plug in the sheep's butt.
This is true.
So maybe that's what you can use anal beads for,
yeah,
Maybe.
butt plugs.
just so you don't get.
Or wouldn't you just take butt plugs though? Because it'd be more practical.
All right, well, I'm drawing a long bow here, but Mr. Bradley Bell, anal beads, whatever floats your boat, my friend.
What else does he take though? Is that like him just being conservative?
He takes nothing, just a backpack with anal beads.
Just a back, but it's not one.
Is it one set? It's like
no
a whole.
food.
It's like a whole backpack full of them.
No food, no water.
No.
It's just anal beads.
Just him and his anal beads out in the bush.
There you go. Hayden. I'm not going to say.
Is that like Hey Dog Hayden?
Yeah, Hayden. I'm not going to read his
Shout out to
handle.
the big man himself.
His handle is Hayde J98, which hints at his middle name and also his age. Anyway. Took a bathtub camping, made a fire under it, and filled it with water from a river.
That's pretty cool. Hot tub.
I've always wanted to do that.
Yeah, that's pretty
Just
cool.
out in the middle of fuck nowhere.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah.
pun intended.
See, I'm imagining like a cannibal situation.
He's cooking himself in the bathtub.
Putting an apple in his mouth and
Like,
making a stew.
it'd be pretty hard to regulate the water temperature if you've lit a fire under.
No, not really.
Nah.
Nah,
You'd be able
not
to
at
do
all.
that pretty well. You just have to wait for it to heat up.
Yeah.
You'd get to a point like, fuck, it's getting on here.
No,
If you
if
put
you just wouldn't stoke the fire anymore.
And you want to keep this fire at a level.
Yeah, you'd want to make it'd be a better coals even across the whole thing.
It'd be fine.
And if it gets too hot, just pour some cold water in it.
Yeah.
That's
Or just
true.
take some coals out. Yeah, it'd work quite well.
No, I'm
And
Yeah, solid.
I actually did not something similar, but I've used my ute tray as a spa. I just lined it with a tarp. fill it with
Oh,
water.
the old plastic in the back of the ute, mate.
It worked.
It's
for,
brilliant.
for as long as I need it.
Yeah, I've seen that in action actually. I rocked up at your place and you had a party going on, and you had that exact setup.
Worked.
Fuck yeah.
Redneck science, mate.
Ah,
Shout out to Hayden.
Yeah, man.
Keep it going.
Keep it real, bro.
Keep the dream alive, bro. Lee's random adventures. Took a kid's paddle pool down to Salt Creek to use as a makeshift live well on the beach.
A live well.
That's smart.
What's a live well?
Then if you get too hot, and let's face it, no one's swimming in Salt Creek, you can just jump in the live well.
So if you're going after some big fish, you keep some small ones alive in a tank
for
or a
bait.
well. Yeah, for bait, yeah. So they're fresher.
That's not a bad
that's
idea.
actually, I mean, I wouldn't say that's a ridiculous thing.
No, not at all.
Innovative.
I'd say that's actually a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
And how much space is a kid's wading pool? probably pretty small.
Well, if it's just one of those plastic blow-up ones, then it's not really going to take up much space. Unless he's saying it was ridiculous because something else happened.
What have you taken?
Was there an incident?
What?
Nah, he's just using it for fish.
Well,
Swimming.
I mean, you could do a lot with a pool.
Yeah.
I mean,
Especially if you got misses there.
there's
A
like
bit of hot tub sexy time.
jelly wrestling, mud wrestling.
What's the weirdest thing you've taken?
Oh, this one time
Camping.
I popped like 3 pills that I found off the floor.
Oh my God.
That's
They were actually kangaroo shit.
I wasn't out bush, mate.
No, we covered this recently. I don't think I've taken anything ridiculous. And
Apart from 10 pairs of fucking underwear.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah.
But anyway, no, it's So there's a list of 5.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Actually, some of those I like. The blow dart, the pool. Yeah. And
yeah, they're
and
not
the
really that
bath.
ridiculous. Some of them were actually pretty practical.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing about Instagram polls is sometimes you just need to delve deeper into the story. It doesn't really give
This
you
is
enough
true. There's enough
characters.
context. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway,
Yeah, like I feel like Hayden's.
Or was that just an
Bath.
excuse for him to tell his story?
No, I reckon that was alcohol induced redneck science.
Fuck yeah, it was.
Well, 100%.
Paid off. He got dividends.
if you're taking a bath, you've pre-planned that.
that's true.
Unless you're
Yeah,
a plumber and
pre-plan-
you take your plumbing.
But what sort of a
You-
like the
pre-planned
average
that like a
bath
week
doesn't
before.
have like legs on it. So what?
No, so Steve and I use them for cattle troughs, man, and we just whack like, I don't know, 4 star pickets in the ground.
Yeah, but it's like fiberglass. If you light a fire under that fucker, then
You're obviously not taking a fiberglass, you're taking the old cast iron.
you'll
or
cast
something
iron,
like that.
and then that's
And
fucking heavy.
This
man.
was probably pre-thought out on a night out on the piss or a night at home on the piss a week prior, and was like, yeah, I'm going to take a bathtub, and you got an old cast iron bathtub, chuck it in.
Yeah.
I mean, this is great for the podcast. No, we don't have to speculate. We can just ask him.
That
That's
is
true.
very true. I think most 18-year-old, 19, 20-year-old dudes would do something like that. I would.
Yeah. Oh fuck!
Definitely.
I'd do it now.
100%. Yeah.
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 Oh, well, moving on. So the topic for this week is meet the family, which opens up a lot of doors. I think.
Does it?
I think so. It can be interpreted in many different ways, but
As we always do.
yeah, man. Yeah. Meet the family. We're at season 2, episode 13. We've chewed that through that quite quickly. That feels.
It has gone quickly.
I just want to keep going. No breaks. Santa doesn't give any breaks. Let's just keep pumping out podcasts.
No, it sounds good. We love it. Fuck, we're getting some good feedback. It's
Yeah.
really, really good. Anyway, meet the family. Caleb, you're up first, my friend.
Okay, so meet the family. I think we need, at this juncture, we could probably properly meet our Send It Mate family. To the listeners out there, the dynamic you will have listened to between the three of us. And I actually had a conversation with someone today, and I started getting into how we all know each other. And I took a step back and I'm like, on paper, it's fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it feels completely normal to the three of us,
Yeah.
but
It's definitely not normal.
it is definitely not normal whatsoever. So what I'm going to do is break it down and then possibly bring some reasoning into how it sustained itself beyond how fucked it is and relate that back to hunting.
Yeah. Yeah. Where are you going to start, though?
Well, I'm going to start at where,
Well, is this going to come into the life in general sort of category, though?
well, in a way, but I'll get a bit soppy at the end. So,
Well, we need to
Bring it back to hunting. Bring it back strong.
Bring it back to the man
of
activities.
course, but people want to get to know us a bit better and understand where this dynamics come from and why we all feel so comfortable hanging shit on each other. So I'm going to go back to our origin story, essentially. Like right back, all right? So back in – so, Josh, you've got a a sibling who's a fair bit older than you, fair to say.
Yeah, he should be like 40 something, 46 or something like that.
So if we go back, my dad knew your parents.
Yes.
And my dad actually used to babysit your oldest sibling.
Yep.
This is how far back we're going.
We're like intergenerational
So
here.
my parents and Caleb's parents met at church.
Well,
Yep.
if we're going to go back that far, my grandfather was a pastor. Your parents attended that church. My dad was sort of just like the black sheep and didn't want a bar of it, basically, at that point. But nonetheless, he babysat your older sister.
Yep.
And then many years later,
Mum and Dad, they fucked.
and both of us were born within 3 months of each other.
I don't think there's a coincidence here at all.
So, yes, we have the same birth year, Josh. And then when we were both about 7, we got to know each other and became really good friends, spent most school holidays at each other's houses for weeks at a time sometimes. And, been best mates since we were 7 years of age. And then enter, I'd say, when did I first meet you, Ryan? I'd say I was about 15.
Oh, we were young.
We were young. So I met you first. And then I started going out with your sister,
Yeah.
who I've eventually got married to.
Yep. and I was like, I lost my best friend. Give me some girl. You gotta settle down.
So, I mean, at that time in life, you sort of went a bit off the rails a bit.
Oh man, I flew off the rails.
You didn't move out of the family home. You got kicked out. So I didn't really see you for a while there, but I was
Yeah.
married to your sister, so I saw you at family events and whatever.
The ones that I rocked up to.
By that stage, Josh had joined up in the army. So I saw him sort of Christmas time and whatever leave he had, but obviously maintained our friendship. So, I mean, we're talking, well, Josh, we're 34, just about. You are. So we've known each other 27 years. Ryan, we're going on 19 years.
Mm.
I was married to your sister, no longer married, now divorced.
Yep.
Through that, somehow we've stayed friends.
we've yeah.
Somehow.
I don't even know how that's even.
I'd put it down to two things: music and hunting.
Yeah, we have a lot of common interests.
We have common interests, right?
We get along
So
really well.
That's
so it's-
important.
Yeah.
So then if we delve further into Joshua, he made the choice of going out with my sister, which for a lot of people, that's just a no-go zone when you're a mate.
Yeah. But you
You could have said the same thing.
Yeah.
And, that is no longer the case. But, I mean, just to add to how fucked it all is, like, yeah.
So now-
there's just all
I just need to date Josh's sister, and then we've got the
please
trifecta.
do.
good luck. There's only one who's single. So let's in all honesty, on paper that is just fucked.
Oh yeah, we got our history. If our history is like fucking Bold and the Beautiful, man, you could write series about it. We should do that.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. How's this though? Just talking about exes and things. So Steve and I are a mutual friend of all three of us.
Stephen,
Oh,
with the perf.
Stephen.
exactly.
Even we met through both of our ex-wives.
Oh yeah,
Both of our ex-wives left us, and now we've became like best mates and still hang out together.
because they were sisters.
They're both sisters.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're like, oh. And the worst thing is our ex's other sister was dating another mate who me and Steve also continue to catch up
it's
with.
a bit.
Yeah.
It's just testament. I think like mateship goes a really long way.
Exactly.
Yeah, man.
So I think
Really long way.
where I want to bring this back to, so now that the listeners understand the Scented Mate family and how ridiculous it is, what has transcended the relationships and breakdown of relationships and the crossover of family lines and all this sort of stuff is the fact that we all have common interests and we can all, at the end of the day, sit around a campfire and have a laugh and look at things for what they really are and realize there's no point having enemies or being shitty at people when you love doing the same things. You move on, you get over it, life goes on.
Yeah,
I have to say, actually, the dynamic we have reminds me a lot about the dynamic that you build in the army, but on a little bit better scale. Unfortunately, in the army, there's still a lot of, you work with people, but, if they piss you off, you can sort of not become enemies, but hold some animosity between each other. But with our dynamic, it does remind me in the fact that we've all had our Biffs, our Barneys, and God, we've had some crackers.
Yeah, we have.
Semi-automatics, Caleb. We've had some crackers, but at the end of the day, Caleb's right. We just sort of sit there and we just have a beer whilst we're out hunting, like at the end of the night or something like that, and yeah, we can just move on and have a laugh.
It's that classic blokes thing though. Like you have your crack and afterwards you're all good.
Yeah.
That's the way it goes. Like that's that whole, I don't know, it's that story that gets told about the blokes get into a fight in a pub. They go outside, have a fight, and have a beer afterwards.
Yeah,
like that's blokes. That's how we operate, and especially if you've got history with them, like with you guys. I don't think we've ever actually been legitimately angry at each other.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
we've been worked up and been very passionate about it and heated conversations and screamed and yelled and all, but there's no legitimate anger or animosity. So that's
and we've all done some funny shit together. Like we've done countless nudie runs together. One that lasted for fucking hours, which shouldn't have.
Which turned into a D&M conversation, trekking around my neighbourhood in the Nud.
Yeah, I don't understand how three blokes could walk so far naked on a main road.
That was fucking awesome.
I mean, again, on paper, this sounds fucked.
Yeah, absolutely cooked. Like, you're young, you're dumb, full of piss, whatever.
Yeah.
Caleb and I used to hop the fence at night, so our family, all of our families are quite religious, surprisingly. And so there was definitely curfews and all the rest of that jazz that comes with the whole Christian background. But Caleb and I used to sneak out and climb his back fence, which was an 8-foot fence.
Correct.
And we'd roam the streets at wee hours of the morning, putting
just the local gang doing the rounds.
No, we'd turn off people's water meters. We'd put porn in people's letterboxes. Just random shit, man. Absolutely random shit.
Didn't you?
We thought it was funny at the time.
Didn't you leave the remains of an animal at one of the pastor's doorstep, and he thought it was the demons coming after him?
No, the remains of an animal.
No. So we were out fishing one night. And some guys had some crab nets. We had a crab net on us, and they finished up. And they're like, "Oh, do you want the rest of our bait?" And they happened to be using rue in their crab net.
Rue necks.
Yeah.
So, you missed an important detail. They were tying the rue necks on with some baling twine, right?
Yeah.
So this extends to the soy.
Yeah, bright orange twine. We've moved on. We're changing locations basically. So we've gone from one jetty and we're going to go to another. And we sort of bailed on that idea halfway through, but we didn't bother taking the bait out of the nets. We just chucked the nets with the bait still in the back of the car. And then we've headed back towards home and I went, shit, there's still these nets with rue necks in there. So I'm like, what do we do with them? And, being, I don't know what we were, 17 or whatever. We're just like, we'll just...
Back when you could drive a car at 17.
Yeah.
God.
You didn't have to do 200 hours of fucking night driving.
We're just like, we'll leave it on the pastor's doorstep. And so we've just put this bloody bit of rue with this orange twine around it on his doorstep. And this was a Saturday night. And I'm sitting in church Sunday morning. And he's going, there was a bizarre attack on me.
Yeah.
And my family, a demonic attack. And I'm sitting.
All you did was drop some bait off at his house.
Yeah, and I'm just. Yeah, there was this bloody roo on my doorstep. I don't know what it means. But
Well,
I'm
you
just,
didn't know it was rude. He just said bloody meat.
Oh,
And I remember when you were telling me, because I didn't go to church that Sunday, but you were telling me like a week later, and you mentioned how the pastor was like, yeah, there was twine around it symbolising some demonic thing, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I'm just sitting there going, what smack is this dude smoking?
he read way too much into that. And meanwhile, I'm just sitting in my seat pissing myself, and the guy next to me is just like, it was you, wasn't it? Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, what you do when you're young.
Yeah, we thought things were like that were funny. I don't know why, but
We used to do scavenger hunts. I got to say this story. Like one night, it's Christmas time, one of our favourite times of the year to do scavenger hunts. Anyway, we pulled up. This was to an ex-girlfriend's house actually, and so they had Christmas lights.
Yeah.
And I've run out and I went to grab some lights, and someone's turned the front porch light on.
So
I've
just let's backtrack. Explain what our definition of a scavenger hunt is.
Oh, so it's like everyone knows, like everyone when they first get their license and, you know, you're out with your mates, you'll drive around and like nick people's garden
You'd flog
gnomes
shit.
or
That's what a scavenger hunt is.
yeah, you get given a list of things to get.
you
You,
gotta
get
find
points
it.
for each one.
Yeah.
Street signs and shit.
Anyway, one of them was Christmas lights. So I grabbed these Christmas lights and the front porch is turned on. And I've gone, fuck. Run straight back into the car because her dad was a pretty mean-spirited fella. Anyway, run into the car.
Even on Christmas.
Close the door on the lights and Kayla's driven off and it's ripped. I thought it would snap. No, it's just like taking all the lights.
That's the Grinch movie shit right there, man.
Mate, I felt bad actually that time.
You literally used a car to tear down your ex's dad's Christmas lights.
Yeah, serves you right for putting Christmas lights up.
Oh, fuck, that's excellent.
Yeah,
Mate.
stupid stuff like that. But, no, it was fun.
It was hopefully there's no like statutory limitations on being a dick.
I don't know, man. But yeah, no, good times. So we've been around each other quite a while, and we've enjoyed each other's company out hunting and all our outdoor pursuits. I think we're all pretty well aligned on, and you know, it doesn't matter what life throws at you in all our different situations or how shit life gets or whatever. We can still like all get away and go out and go hunting and escape all that together, and just I don't know, just yeah.
It's not just hunting; it's fishing, and you know, like the older we get. I don't know about you guys, but the older we get, the more I want to be young at heart again and do, you know, random shit and get out there and.
I think it's the experience, man. Like I'm sort of feeling the same. Like the older I get, I want to experience more outside of the daily grind and that sort of stereotype box that you get put in.
You can get lost in that box, man, and like screw closing that lid on that box.
I get lost
and
in
just
so many
accepting
boxes.
Some KFC boxes.
Finger licking goodness.
There you go. So to the listeners out there, I hope you've got some better understanding into our Send It Mate family and why we feel so comfortable hanging the shit on each other that we do.
But we also share that sense of humour.
Yeah, that's
Like
true.
if someone hangs shit on someone else, there's the third person there just to be like, suck shit. And we're like, okay.
Yeah, well, we talk some shit, but you know
it's
what?
good.
And
It's good.
Yes, we admit we talk some absolute smack, but
It's fucking brilliant. It's what it is.
it works. The dynamic works between the three of us. So
Yeah.
No, that's good.
there you
That's
go.
good. Well,
Hang on, I've got a quick backtrack.
Oh, here we
So
go.
who's what? So
who's
What?
what?
Who's what?
no. So Caleb,
The candlestick in the library.
When I like talk about Caleb, I'm like, yeah, he's the real sensible one. That's
Oh, yeah,
sort of,
what dynamic-
You know,
what do
left
they
and
bring
right
into the
of arc
dynamic?
And,
Yeah.
and you know, he's just like, yeah, you know, got to be straighty 180. You know, like camp mum. Have
Yeah.
you eaten your meal today? You've got to eat, son.
Caleb's definitely the cat, like the reasonably responsible. Out of all of us, he's the most responsible. I wouldn't use the word responsible because the level that word indicates. It references responsibility. That's not it. There's I actually had this conversation with one of my other friends recently. They're like, you know how you've got the one person in the group that's the responsible one that reels everyone in? I'm like, no, I don't have one of those.
Yeah, I feel like Caleb's like the one that is the most fitting for that, but it's still quite loose. But yeah.
I pick my moments.
Yeah, you do.
He's that, you know how you got the devil and the angel on your shoulders? He's the angel that's like,
he's the only one that's got the angel, man. That's
but
the three of us.
Every now and then the devil will be talking and he'll be like, oh, that's a good idea. We should do that.
Right. Yeah, then I'm all in. I'm just all in.
That's it. You're an all-in kind of guy.
Yeah.
For sure.
I'm sensible 90% of the time, but if
Josh,
I go wrong, I go well wrong.
Yeah. Josh, you're the guy that's like, just, that's it. This is the way it is.
So it's just the way it is, mate.
Yeah, that's just the way that it fucking is.
Yeah. 100%.
Just do it. Just do it. You're like, just fucking get it done. Do it.
This brings me to you, actually. You're the type of guy that will push your brother off a ladder for shits and giggles.
We do backflips off the fucking garden shed into chairs. And
I watched you clothesline that ladder. Watched your brother was on the
it was
top.
fucking funny though, wasn't it?
Whilst he was eating potato bake directly from the tray, in the oven tray.
Yeah, man. That's the kind of relationship I have.
Oh, dear, that's quite funny.
People ask me, and I'm just like, yeah, Josh is the risk taker.
They
don't always work out, but at least he's prepared to take a risk.
Yeah, that's true.
Ryan's like the impulse buyer.
Yeah, that's right.
And I try and think about things a bit more.
Oh, dear.
Fucking hell.
Well, there you go. Cool.
That's a very
No, I was pretty literal interpretation of Meet the Family, but I'm like, well, I thought of it today when someone asked me, and I'm like, well, it's actually pretty fucked, and people would be interested in how we came together, and now we just do a heap of outdoor shit together.
Yeah, it's fucking excellent.
And record a podcast.
Yeah, that's it. Now, I'm next on the list. So you're not far actually from the take that I've going down on this one. So Meet the Family. So it was more of a bit more personal level.
Okay.
I thought we'd dive into, which we've touched on briefly before, but not in any depth, our own personal family history in hunting and outdoors and how we have come to be exposed to the great outdoors and camping and hunting and things that are associated with that. Mm-hmm. So I thought I'd start with myself, just so that the listeners do get a better idea of what our backgrounds are in these areas. So I'm the kid that spent every single school holidays in the dirt in some fucking desert, mountain, woods area. I have to take my hat off to my old man because he would go out of his way to take, like the Flinders Ranges was where I was at. We would go there every Easter. Anytime we can get away, and we would have those shitty old fucking box tent things that would take 4 fucking hours to set up. And we had 2 of them.
Yeah, from the 70s.
From the fucking 70s. And they'd leak. And my family didn't come from a very well-off background whatsoever. So my dad just made do with what we got. And he was a fucking champion for it. So I never had like the shiny things or anything like that. My camping experience growing up was literally like a fire and a tent. Sleep on the ground. You make it work. And I thought, at the time, I didn't think anything of it, and then you get older, you're like, oh, this is fucking shit. But now that I am older, I'm very much appreciative of that and everything that my dad put in to teach me what I know. Like I knew how to start fires. I knew how to pick a good campsite. I knew how to set up a campsite from the age of 8. So
I feel like most little boys just work out how to create fire.
Yeah, but they do it with a fucking I'm talking about like actually building a proper campfire. Most dudes that are 8 find a fucking cigarette lighter and go, oh, the flame. What can I do with this? Where can I put it? Where will it go? Oh, it's got a life of its own.
I'll try and light me fire.
Oh, that's fucking excellent. Actually, when I was a kid, I made sparkler bombs. I think I might have been 8 or 9, and I wasn't a bright spark. Right, digressing a little here. I made sparkler bombs. And I hid them behind my bedroom door so that when my parents opened the door, it'd cover them up. And then this one time, and they were there for like 6 months because I made them and just forgot about them. And I had a cigarette lighter with them. And this one time, my old man comes in and he's coming to have a chat, but it was a serious chat. So he's closed the door. There's fucking
It's the birds and the bees chat.
oh, dude, I kind of know. I was a right shit when I was a kid. I was a fucking shit. So he's come in, he's going to have the old serious chat and close the door, and there's fucking lines of sparkler bombs and sparklers and lighters and just flammable shit. And man, I got the whooping of a lifetime after that.
Really?
Yeah, man.
So that's quite funny. So I used to use, we probably shouldn't be talking about this, but soda stream canisters in mine.
Yeah.
And I lit my dad's top paddock on fire when I was about 14. And it stopped the fire stopped about a metre from my neighbour's house, mate.
Shit.
What your old man did?
And I did not get in trouble. And we're sitting there at dinner. So me and my mate, we were absolutely fucking like smoke inhalation, just wrecked from fighting this fire. And we've sat down at the table and Dad's like, oh, I hope you learnt your lesson. And I'm like, yeah. And then he's looked at me and he goes, tomorrow I'll teach you how to mess with chlorine and brake fluid.
So
I was like, what? It's like 40 degrees tomorrow, mate. I think I've had me fucking
it was
for this
fire
summer.
season. You did a backburn for him and you controlled it. He's like, fuck yeah, all right, done.
That's a surprising end result from Poiter.
Yeah.
Yeah. He would have lost
Yeah,
his
man.
fucking
I
mind.
honestly thought I was going to get like absolutely the shit beaten out of me. I thought I was going to get belted, man. And nah, not at all. And I got a feeling my mum had a word to Dad and was like, look, because me and my mate were absolutely screwed, man. I'm talking about like eyes hanging out of our head, headaches, like dehydrated from fighting this fire, which was our own fault.
What were you fighting the fire with? Like brush sticks or
curtains?
Garden hose.
Curtains that were wet.
you were just doing the old
curtains.
bush beating?
Yeah. Dad ran up with like a perfect cart full of water and curtains.
Sorry,
And
I'm,
then he
st-
just-
I'm still getting I'm still getting past the term wet curtains.
Mate, they were well wet. Self-lubricating.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
I was fighting fire with some moist labia.
But yeah, and I've got a feeling Mum had a word to him and said, "Oh, look, I think they've had enough."
He's learned his lesson.
Yeah.
Oh, you freaked out and reacted enough to it. And
Yeah, dude.
Shit
Yeah,
your pants
actually,
enough.
I didn't mess around with anything after that, like making like sparkle bombs and stuff like that.
fuck, I didn't learn. I nearly burnt down my parents' backyard. Similar thing. But it was dry season and there was like a patch of scrub out the back. I nearly burnt that down. Went crazy. Luckily enough, there was a hose. So they had two hoses. I think it was in about an acre. It was in just before the foothills. So there was like a slopey backyard, and there was two hoses. There was one up by the house, and there was one that was halfway down. And then right at the back, it was all it was scrub. So I used to play in there because it was fucking awesome. We made like forts and shit. And then I was playing with fire, and then set fire behind there's a big shed that like covered everything from the house, so you can't see what's going on behind it. So I made a big fire there, and it got real fucking big. And then I ran up and I've grabbed the hose, and the hose has gone, and like the last 100 mil of it has poked around the shed. So I've like cranked the fucker up, and I've squirted down the fire before anyone knew what was going on. And to this day, no one in my fucking house knows that I lit a fire out the back.
Yeah.
Because you can't see it.
That's the best kind of getting away with.
Yeah,
it.
man.
Well, just to round this out then, when I made my sparkler bombs, I'd wet the lawn down all around.
Yeah, you would fucking camp,
Yeah,
mum.
Mum.
Get my
hell.
get my two Coke bottle caps, scrape my sparklers down, stick one in the top, light it. There you go.
Delicious.
No fires.
such a-
relief.
You're such
Safety
a camp
first.
mum.
Safety never takes a holiday.
I just think that next
You
step.
probably wore eye protection as well, didn't you?
Do you know what? I don't apologise for my camp mum nature
Eye
because
protection and high vis.
I learned from a very early age to just not get caught for the shit I did, and plan out escape routes, plan out how to not get in trouble.
Dude, I was definitely not that kid. I'm the guy that calls his dad at 2:00 in the morning because my utes bottomed out on the hill in the local soccer club because I was doing doughies in it, and then I forgot to go diagonally.
I know which one you're talking about. Fuck, wow.
Were you there?
No, I wasn't there, but I know.
No, it was my brother.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. I'm surprised you could get bogged there, to be honest.
No, my car was literally like I drove up the hill. So for those playing at home, all the soccer fields around us have a hill around to stop people from driving on it, but a four-wheel drive that wasn't quite four-wheel drive. And then I bottomed out. Like I would come up to the crest of the hill, bottomed out, and the car was like rocking like a fucking seesaw.
You idiot.
And I had to call my dad to tow us out at 2 o'clock in the morning. And yeah, I actually didn't get in trouble for that. My dad had a laugh. He's fucked up. It was him, my brother, and my brother's my brother, and my brother's mate, and we just fanged doughies for like half an hour, just tearing up this pitch. And we're like, oh yeah, our job done. And then
Sorry, but what a cunt.
yeah, oh yeah, I told you I was a right shit, man.
Look, man, I got to admit, they're if I had a son and he did that, I'd be like high fiving him actually.
Oh
This
fuck
is,
yeah!
This is probably why I wouldn't make a good dad because I'd be like, yeah, you know what, you're making memories, ma.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Well, that's right. Now I've got the story to tell. But Dad's like, he got driving home. It's like dead silence, and Dad's like, "Yeah, we probably won't tell your mum about this." I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, probably not a good idea.
So, how did you guys come to being where you are with your love for outdoors and nature and
Oh,
hunting?
look, well, my old man would have instilled that in me, I guess. So when he was a young fella, he was in Boy Scouts, so he spent a fair bit of time outdoors, and he used to just go walk about essentially.
What? Like just take off?
He's not Indigenous Australian at all, but yeah, the closest thing to what he used to do was just go walk about. He'd just like grab a pack and go bush basically and disappear, just because he loved being out in nature, and he had all the skills to exist out in the bush, I guess.
That
So
was
awesome. So I mean, when I was a kid, we used to go camping a fair bit, and being in South Australia as we are, one of the prime spots is the Flinders. So spent a bit of time in those shitty canvas tents that you got to put all the poles together myself. So I guess that's where I developed a love for the outdoors. Dad would always take us fishing. Josh came along once we got to know each other as well. It was just one of those things that developed from there. Like it was fishing especially is just good to get away from life and just sit there with your thoughts and think about stuff. So, you know, from an early age, I saw that as a pretty cool thing to do. And just it's sort of an escapism as well, from the daily grind, I guess.
Yeah.
That's why being out in nature is so great. It's so far removed from being in an office or being at school or whatever, depending on what age you are.
Yeah.
So that's where I sort of developed a love for it. And then I didn't actually go hunting until I was probably about 18, 19, with Josh. And I'd sort of, he'd been doing a lot longer than me because he came up, well, as he'll probably say in a second, he came up through Army cadets. So he was around guns a lot more than I was. My parents weren't so keen, even though my dad came up around guns and had an air rifle and a 22 when we used to live up in the hills, and he'd pop, vermin, whatever, around the place. But yeah, my mum wasn't so keen around it, so I was never really allowed to muck around with guns so much. And then 18, do what you want, sort of thing. And that's when I sort of went along with Josh the first time. And the very first time I ever went hunting was spotlighting for roos, rabbits, foxes on a place. And I was hooked first time I did it.
Yeah, I had a similar experience actually. Well, my old man, shout out to Brenton, by the way. I don't know if he listens or not. He lives out in the middle of butt fuck nowhere. I don't even know if he's got internet. But my dad was Army cadets, and we've got Army history all through our family actually. But he sold all of his guns to buy my mum a wedding ring. Which
That's more common than what you think.
yeah,
Dudes selling their hobby to buy a ring.
I mean, it worked out well for him, didn't it? But I was a result of that. So
What the
we'll cut that out.
No, they were married for what, 30
They
years?
were married for a long stretch. No, they're actually quite well now. But no, he'd tell me stories because my dad's as you know, he loves his motorbikes. So he would have a 30-30 strapped to his back, not in a case, just slung over his shoulder, and he'd scoot down on his motorbike up the freeway. Let's go on a hunt.
Back in the days when you could walk down Hindley carrying a rifle, and no one would be like, "Oh."
Yeah.
Not in our lifetime, clearly.
No, definitely not.
Well, that was back when most people understood what a rifle was because the wars were recent enough that.
Well, yeah, like preceding that, there was Vietnam, there was World War II. So people
People had a great.
people that in their lifetime had been exposed to people walking the streets. In Australia now, when was the last time?
Well, that's
happened?
it. I mean, the modern, like, the conversation back then would have been around war. I'm talking about like post-war, because you have these people that come back that have been around guns. Guns mean nothing to them, and then they bring that mentality back to the home and all the other bullshit that came with it. But that would a majority of the households were exposed to weaponry, and they had an understanding that it was a tool, and it was. I think now.
It's normalised in their own
It's
mind.
normalised.
Hunting was
Yeah,
a
but
lot more common back then as well.
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely, it's
For
true.
hunting for food.
Yeah, which
Way more common.
and then you've just got this massive disconnect and just these.
Yeah, the last 30,
Over-
40 years is just definitely disconnected. We've just, I don't know, branched off of it. It's because life's gotten easier. We've got easier access to food, abundance of it as well. Everything like
Yeah,
that.
that's
So,
true.
you know.
I mean, I don't want to dive down that rabbit hole too much, but
I've got some mates in the army, man, that have left and they're completely against firearms. Completely against
is that because of their experiences?
I don't actually know, man.
Or is it just
I had an
a trigger
argument
of
with
memories,
one mate.
do you think? Or
I don't know. I had an argument with a mate, and it
doesn't
had
surprise me.
nothing to do with the war or anything like that. It was just to do about firearm ownership. And then I just turned around and said, mate, do you realise that your profession for 5-6 years, you were carrying a rifle? Like, I don't understand. Like, yeah. Anyway.
it's bizarre. I'd say that's some people's coping mechanisms, just to remove themselves as far as possible from anything that could trigger memories, or they just don't want to be associated with it.
That's understandable. But at the end of the day, it's a tool. It's like a hammer. It's like a screwdriver. It's like a cordless drill.
Like a nail
It's a
gun.
tool.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So what about you, Josh? What's what was it that got? What's the earliest memory that you have of being outdoors, like hunting, nature, four-wheel drive, whatever?
I'm glad you did this, Ryan, actually, because we do ask all our guests.
Guests, we do, yeah.
Yeah, we
I
do.
thought, this is like the episode where the listeners get to know a little bit more about us. I think
Meet the family, if you will.
absolutely.
Yeah, look, my dad has shot all his life. His father was a firearm owner, ex-military. My mum's father was ex-military. They were just a part and parcel of everyday life. But it really didn't come into play for me. So when I was young, when I was about 6, my dad didn't really, and I didn't have really a relationship. And at about 6 years old, like, he pretty much kept it quiet from me, like shooting.
He was adopted.
Anyway, at 6 years old, I was at a mate's house, actually, or one of Dad's mate's house, and they ripped out the air rifle and had a bit of a session shooting some targets, and Dad was like, I'd jump behind it, have a go, and I just smashed it. Dad's like, oh, you got a bit of natural talent there, mate. I'm like, yeah, cool. And I really enjoyed it. Anyway, for about a month after, I just spoke, like, whenever Dad spoke to me, we spoke about shooting the air rifle. And he goes, all right, I'll get one. Now, I grew up very poor. My parents never went on holidays, we had very, very little. And Dad actually went out and bought an old Telly 177 air rifle, and he brought it home. I think it cost him like $50 or something like that. Back then, that was a fair bit of money, especially to our family. And he just looked at me and he goes, right, son, you mess up once, it's gone. Have at it. And I was like, shit, yeah. Yeah.
That is what he sounded like.
Yeah. And
let's do that. Hey, Mr. Krusty, your burgers are ready.
You know, I would pretty much use it, and I shot with it every single day. I maintained it. I was, I made sure that I was complete and utterly safe with it. I used to shoot birds, like minor birds and things like that, all the time. And it was great. I enjoyed every second of it. Anyway, that's where Dad left me for about another 6 years. And we really Dad went back to work and we didn't really talk, and I just used the little air rifle. And, anyway, about 6 years later, I actually got really sick of not going on holidays. My sisters got to go to China. I don't know how they afforded it, but Mum and Dad were like, the girls need to go on, a holiday. And things like that. Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I experienced that. My parents took the younger siblings to Queensland. By the way, Dad and Mum, if you ever listen to this, I'm still fucking sour about that.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for my trip. Yeah. But I got real jack of it, and so I went and got a job at like 12. And anyway, worked a job.
I was 12 years old, I had a job, full-time job.
Saved my money, and Dad had a few rifles already, and some of them were his father's. Anyway, I saved up my money and walked up to my dad and said, Dad, 1, I want to join the cadets, which I couldn't do till I was 13, and 2, I want to go hunting. And Dad's like, okay, you pay for it, we can go. So
what was your job?
Saved my money. So at the start, actually, I worked at Macca's.
Mickey D.
Yeah, good old Mickey D's. And lasted about, 4 weeks and was like, fuck this shit. So I went actually after that, got a job at the local rifle range. And to substitute that job, I worked at Red Rooster.
Yeah. And this is after school, was it?
Yeah, man. So I didn't really at 13 years old, I was sort of in and out of school, man, like working. And I ended up actually working a fair bit in the York Peninsula as a farmhand and things throughout my young teenage life. And I just would save all my money to go hunting. Every ounce of my money went to buying rifles and hunting. Anyway, so Dad and I didn't really talk much. Me saying to him that I wanted to join the cadets, he was like all for that. But he took me down to the local unit, and I couldn't actually join till I was 13. So it sort of reverted back to hunting. And I paid for the first time to go out, and Dad took us out. It was just hunting roos, rabbits, foxes, and I loved it. And it just it brewed this relationship between me and my father, like hunting. He would actually teach me how to hunt. You know, when you're working on your car, or your dad's working on his car, he's like doing a service, and he's like, yeah, I'll teach you. And then you're just standing there passing him fucking spanners, and he's not saying anything or teaching anything. Yeah. It was the opposite.
You're just a fucking
Yeah, you're just a lucky.
Yeah.
It was the opposite. He actually engaged with me when I was shooting, told me what not to do, what I was doing wrong, and and because of that, I listened and I loved it, and because we started building this rapport and this relationship, so I just naturally fell into it, man. And our relationship grew, and that's what essentially got me down the rabbit hole, man.
Yeah, but you're super close to your dad now.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I can't remember a time when you weren't really.
Well,
Yep.
I'm old enough to remember. I'm old enough. I've been around long enough to remember back in the early days. And so I would, between 6 and 12 was those 6 years you said you didn't really have that relationship since that initial connection. And I was around then. And I remember that.
So I was like,
they didn't interact much. They didn't have that much in common. And, Josh got in trouble. He was in the bathroom getting a belting. And I think because his sisters were older, all the attention was on them. And Josh was just the young one he was the baby of the family. So
yeah, my dad's philosophy actually, which he's apologised for when I was a kid, he was like, children should be seen and not heard. And that was how life was at the start.
That's how it was for a lot of people, man.
Yeah, definitely. But I had the opportunity to have a relationship with my father through hunting. and shooting. And like, because I didn't get that in my early years, it was just like, you know, when you're like, I don't know, it just is like unicorns and beer and Skittles and fucking.
As a kid, that would be completely.
Yeah, man.
It'd be life changing because you've gone from having nothing with him.
Yeah, and you're chasing your dad's approval.
Yeah.
For your whole entire childhood.
Like I do that
and suddenly
now.
you're getting
Jesus.
it.
I mean, maybe we've uncovered a key in life. Like hunting is such a primal, basic thing that when you do it and you're around and you teach it to other people, that you do form such a deep connection. Maybe this is why our relationship with each other has transcended all the on paper fuckness of it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, I would say that like not to cut women out of the sport or anything like that, but it as a man going hunting, and this may be falling to stereotypes and all that sort of bullshit, but just speaking from the heart here, as a man going hunting, it definitely makes me feel more in touch with my masculine side.
Fuck yeah.
It is that instinct and that ancestral shit that you deep in, like you just it feels natural. Like you don't have to try.
It feels like the most fucking manly shit you can do.
Yeah. And you don't have to try. It's like you just know. It
feels like it's where you're supposed to be. That's what it feels like.
It's animalistic.
Yeah.
Like you're like, fuck, I know. You know,
100%.
the basic principles. You know, you're just like, fuck.
I remember being out like chasing animals without a gun, like just as a younger lad, and being like, well, this is like, it just feels like that's what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's where a lot of the hunters hunt. Like, if you that's the disconnect that you were talking about before, Kayla, where you step outside of that box of bullshit, which is all of this extraction from nature and extraction from the cycle of life that is what nature is, that we live in today as humans, and then going back into that it's that feeling that it's like a feeling at home for me personally. Like I if I could, I would have a family out in the sticks living, just living, which isn't ideal because we've had many
Kids still
conversations
need to
about
have
this.
social interaction.
Oh yeah, but that's part of me. There's another part of me that's
Starting to get into some cultish shit.
Yeah, it is, man. We should start a cult, dude. Let's just buy a lot, start a cult, dig a patch.
My name's Jeebus.
Yeah. No, but that's the other thing. There's another side of me that has that drive and that ambition and wants to go out and absolutely kill it in the society. So, you know, it's that balance between the two that I think that I get.
Yeah, balance. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and the thing that I really dislike is how people are so dismissive of it without trying it. And I actually think people are scared because I think part of them almost thinks if they try it, they'll be hooked, and then they'll be put in this stereotype category. And
I think a lot of it's just sheep. There's fucking people just wanting to be part of a crowd, really.
Yeah.
If you look at the personalities and the dynamic of people that get behind it, there's always a leader, and they're the people that just want people to follow them and be the leader. And they're not alpha males. They're not. They're guys that just need people to follow them to make them feel good. I have never met a dude who was against hunting that was open, honest, and honest to themselves about the way that they feel about anything. Because as soon as you question them, anyone, and this is speaking obviously anecdotal, there may well be guys that are, but my personal experience is the dudes that have challenged me on hunting, and this isn't me pushing it or anything, just mentioning it, are the guys that are so uncomfortable with themselves that they can't handle the fact that anyone else would share any similarity with a part of them that they're uncomfortable with.
Yeah.
So
and that comes with age, man. Eventually they'll
it does, yeah. And they're all young guys, man. They're all young dudes. And then you got the older dudes that are like I've mentioned before. Like I've had vegans cook bacon for me.
Yeah.
There's a vast range of people. We shouldn't lump them all into the same category.
These are the people I don't even engage in. Like I sat at a dinner with 14 people the other night, and the guy who sparked a debate at the table with everyone and started telling everyone else basically what they should be thinking, and started going into animals' thoughts and feelings and plants' thoughts and feelings. And my sister was looking at me like, how have you not said anything? and then my brother's like, oh, yeah, he's a hunter. And I'm just like, I don't fucking even.
So I would have just played him a video of a lion killing like a zebra and been like, yeah. The feelings.
that, like-
They're going, Caleb, how are you not saying anything? How are you so calm? I'm like, I just don't engage with fuckwits. Like, I'm not even going to fucking acknowledge that he's having an argument. I'll just let him have his moment in the sun, arguing with everyone at the table. I can't even be bothered with this shit.
It's just self-righteousness, I think. That's what it is. Like they just
Get up and piss on his chair leg next time and be like, no violence, mate.
Yeah.
Fucking.
Well, that's the trouble there. They're not against violence. They're just against people that don't agree with them.
It's funny you mentioned that. I went to a vegan cafe today and I didn't know it was vegan.
Dude, there are some fucking solid vegan cafes, man.
Some of their food is fucking delightful.
It is
There's this
awesome.
like, pate thing they do that's amazing. But I asked for bacon and they're like, oh, we're vegan. And I'm like, just like minutes prior, I ordered like toast with smashed ab and egg. And just as she said that, I was like, I had to stop myself because I was going to be like, do you know what an egg is?
Yeah, you're not a
Chickens,
vegan.
Period. It's a fucking animal product, mate. Because like just after I asked for bacon, they're like, "Oh, we're strictly vegan here." I'm like, "Oh."
So hang on, you went to a
It's a fucking egg. How is that strictly vegan?
I don't know. Man.
Isn't no? Oh no, you're talking about vegetarian.
No, they said vegan. Quite loud.
A vegetarian doesn't eat eggs.
Oh,
Does a vegan eat eggs?
No, vegan's like nothing. No animal products, like no cheese, nothing. Fuck, not eating cheese, man.
Oh,
yeah,
cheese-
I mean,
cheese is too
I went
excellent.
to work lunch the other day, and there's a woman at work who's vegan, and she ordered like a pumpkin and halloumi salad, which was the vegan option.
halloumi. Is
No,
so
sorry,
fucking
what?
good.
No, she ordered the pumpkin salad, and it came out with halloumi on top. That was the only vegan option. She's like, "Well, this isn't vegan." And they remade the whole fucking salad instead of just taking the fucking halloumi off the
It's
top.
already been contaminated though.
Well, anyway.
But dude,
It's just too fucking
halloumi.
difficult.
Halloumi is the bees. I've started eating halloumi instead of bacon.
Instead of what?
Instead of bacon,
Halloumi is the tits, man.
it's fucking awesome.
No,
If you
add
do you know what,
bacon to the halloumi.
I don't eat it with eggs. I eat it in a salad. If I'm having eggs, I'm having bacon because there is nothing that can go hand in hand
Yeah,
other
nothing.
than eggs and bacon.
Yeah. Bread,
Other
butter.
than- Do you know what? I really want to see Kevin Bacon holding an egg.
All right, I think this is the point where we move on to Josh.
But also, before we move on, a tip for all of those trying to cook halloumi and get rid of like the squeaky sound in it,
Don't overcook it.
soak it in water before you cook it.
I like the squeaky sound.
Nah, I fucking hate it. It drives me
Nah, you
nuts.
don't want
It's like getting a
squeaky
cotton
halloumi.
ball and putting it between your fingers and rolling it.
Terrible.
Oh, it gives me the fucking
Halloumi
heebie-jeebies.
should still be soft in the middle, but have like a nice crunch
Yeah,
on the
crisp.
outside.
Like you fry it well good, but soak it in water before you do because I think it's the oil. I don't know if it's oil or whatever is the brine that is in is water soluble. So you soak it in water, it gets rid of all that, and then you cook it, and it's fucking delicious.
God. Ryan, because you're so fucking keen about halloumi, the best halloumi you'll have in Adelaide is at a little brunch joint called E for Ethel on Melbourne Street. Go there.
Can you like drop a pin and send it?
God, drop it. I mean, I just gave you all the fucking detail. Use Google.
I'm not going to remember that shit. I'm going to listen back to this
No one's
episode.
going to remember that shit.
No.
Just anyone who listens to the episode. Anyway, move on. Josh, what do you got?
All right, so I'm going to bring it into a bit of meeting Australia's family.
You're going to list all
little
our
bit
prime
different.
ministers? Or?
No. So a big icon in Australia is Ned Kelly. Good old
Man
Ned.
himself. Who's you talking about? Something that went up for sale? Pretty recently?
Ooh, we're going to get onto that actually, because when I thought meet the family, I thought, guns that you keep in your family, etc., which we've covered. So I was like, oh, fuck.
What else I got?
So I got on to meet the family and my mind just started wandering into Australian history. And one of our iconic people in Australia was Ned Kelly. And obviously he's got the saying, such is life, which he said just before he was hung, his famous last words. So I sort of wanted to dive into that and be like, because I don't know. I didn't know up until this week what firearms Ned used.
Hey.
Here we go.
Yes.
What
yes.
did they use back in the bushranger days?
Fucking weird as shit. I was like, well, Okay, because you think American history, you think, Colts, and you think Winchesters and all these things like Remington and things like that, and they have a real big history on it. Now, we didn't really have many firearm
We didn't have the Wild West.
Yeah, but we didn't have many manufacturers here.
No.
So obviously we just imported firearms and sold them. Anyway, this got me down a bit of a rabbit hole with Ned Kelly's firearms that he used in his family. So I want to bring up his first one, so his pistol. And you're right, this comes down to what it sold for, which is pretty much 90% of what you can find on the internet is Ned Kelly's pistol sold for this much. But
the pistol Ned Kelly had.
Used, yeah. Yeah. So his pistol was a 38 caliber Colt Navy revolver. Wow. Yeah. So just your normal, like your Colt is very typical. It's a pretty good looking pistol. But the thing that intrigued me, that went up for auction a few years ago and brought in $122,000.
Gee.
Yeah, that shit is nuts.
So what is that? Is that like a cat revolver where they had to put in the what are those called? With like the primer was separate from the shell?
No. So that was like, you got to think what Ned Kelly was.
It's like
1800s.
1860 something, I think.
Yes, so I don't know, somewhere around that, the Victorian era. So he would have been 1878, around there, around 1878, which I think actually was when he was captured in Euroa.
Yeah,
I think.
He died in 1880. He was born in 1854.
Yeah, so he would have hung in, what, 18 what? 80.
1880,
Yeah.
Yeah, so he was hung in 1880. But, like, did you know what revolver he used? And this is a pretty big meet the family of Australian fucking history. And you don't know anything about it. And finding information on it is fucking difficult. Because you looked at the report before we started the podcast, and I put up a YouTube video of it, and the guy that was explaining his brother's pistol knew fucking nothing about it. He was like,
it's a single shot.
Nice pistol.
It's like a fucking flintlock.
Yeah, it was a flintlock. Yeah. So
they had a Colt and a flintlock.
So his brother had a flintlock, yes. Yeah.
So for those following at home, the flintlock is where there's the hammer. So it's like the old school pirate fucking pistol where
pirate pistol.
Oh, it's a pirate pistol, mate.
Most people would appropriate it to that.
Yeah, it's a pirate pistol. So the old school pirate pistol where they had the hammer that gets pulled back, and it's got a bit of flint on it, and when you pull the trigger, it strikes a spark that goes into a pan of gunpowder, and that explodes, and then that shoots it's like a black powder muzzle loader essentially.
And that was Dan Kelly's pistol, that flintlock, which, no wonder they didn't stand a chance. I think there was like 300.
The coppers
that stormed them.
They all had revolvers and lever actions and
ridiculous. Actually, this dove into Ned Kelly's life, to be perfectly honest. And his father was a bushranger, so it was an outlaw. He used to hold up, stagecoaches and things like this. And he actually used to use his son when he was like 12 years old. He'd put his son in the middle of the road with two carriages blocking off the road. And so the carriage that they wanted to hit would come up, see the son, they'd get out because the son, like Ned, wouldn't say anything and just be sitting there. And the stagecoach or whatever they were holding up, the guy would get out, walk up to Ned, and his father used to make Ned pull out his gun and shoot him in the face at 12 years old.
Fuck.
Yeah.
It's pretty brutal.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So that was like his upbringing, man. And then it was like something so weird. So Ned's wife was his father's ex-wife or some shit. Like
the dude was fucked from the beginning, man.
Yeah,
that dude had no hope.
His wife may have been. His father may have actually slept with his wife or something like that. So his son.
I mean, either way, that's more fucked up than our origin story. So.
Man. He was messed up, like real messed up.
And everyone's like, he's like the fucking a bit of a hero. No, really, he's like an incestuous bastard that just shot people when he was 12 years fucking old.
Yeah. I mean, just weird. I mean, I understand where they were coming from. Like, obviously, it was hard times, like really tough times. There was a fair bit of corruption going on in Victoria.
It was
legally
like
and things
just
like
after
that.
the establishment, man. Like there was
very difficult times. It doesn't make it right, but look, when a man's pressed up in a corner, what are you going to do to support your family?
What else did he use?
So this brings on to the next thing, and Ned's favourite rifle, and it was named. So we're not the only people that used to name.
What did he
their
name his
rifles.
rifle?
Betty.
Get fucked.
Betty.
Was she black? Black Betty?
Damn straight.
So Betty was a .577 caliber Snyder Enfield, and he carved
577?
577.
massive. Fuck.
So this-
Elephant gun, man.
I wish we had a thing where we could link up to our Instagram page to show photos, but it was a single shot, and it had a hatch that you pulled off the breech, like from the top, that was on a hinge, and you loaded it around in and closed the breech and then fired it. Yeah, it's a very, very odd looking gun.
Crikey.
Yeah, single shot as well. So I was like,
yeah,
okay.
but you get hit, like you get nicked by one of those things, you're fucked.
Yeah, well, it was a 50 cal, like almost.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So it's a fair bit of weight behind it. But that was Ned's go-tos. Yeah.
Bloody hell.
Yeah. So do you know much about Ned, or what's your...
I don't know a great deal about him.
Probably not enough,
to
really.
be honest.
Not
Like
enough?
there's been many a movie made.
Yeah, I've watched the movies. I've never really. I reckon I would have done a project on him back in like primary school.
Yeah, but that's like what year was he born and like,
Yeah, all that
there's
stuff.
There's no like diving into the life that he led or the experiences that he had.
one of my favourite books I had as a kid was about all the outlaws around the world. So Ned Kelly, Bonnie and Clyde.
Billy the Kid.
Yeah, all those. Exactly.
Yeah, man.
Did you learn anything from it?
Yeah.
Really? Apart from how to be a camp mum?
Oh, fuck off.
But like this sort of brought up the topic of, so I personally have a rifle I'll never get rid of, and that's my father's 22, and this has been brought up before. That sort of stayed within the family. Obviously, Ned's family was pretty much like slaughtered. So, but his legacy his materialistic legacy continued on. So obviously they've got his body armor that he made,
Yep.
and his rifle sitting in a museum in Victoria.
Yep.
His pistol obviously sold in a private collection a few years ago.
It's like the ultimate underdog. I think that's where that whole underdog culture comes from. With us, like there's the Australian culture.
Possibly, yeah. Aussies support the underdog.
Oh shit, yeah, because fuck the man and all that.
Aussie battler.
Yeah, there's that rebel in us that I think that just stems from Ned Kelly, and he's definitely been the fuel to that fire. Where he's a guy that's idolized now, but when you actually look at who he was and what he did, and you put him in any other scenario, other than having a fucking wicked sick last words and being smart enough to make armor and being the last stand against tyranny. Well, it wasn't even the last stand. Like, he did some fucked up shit, and then he just had the coppers chase him. That's like, if it was anywhere else, you'd look at him and be like, that's just like a psychopathic criminal.
Yeah, but I think it sparked off a way of thinking that changed.
Oh yeah,
our
because and then the
legal
flip side to
system.
that, it was like a push against tyranny as well, and I think that's what worked in his favour.
And there's very few times Australia has actually pushed against tyranny and things like that. And so as much as it's swept under the rug, because I don't think the powers to be want to glorify it so people get ideas out of fighting tyranny. But
I'm going to get a sneeze button.
yeah. What?
No, you're.
You sneeze in here and you sneeze at my place. What?
I sneeze everywhere.
Do you have the COVID?
Probably.
Yeah.
Do you want it? I can give it to you.
Give us a 5-second Frenchie.
Oh yeah, that's at least 2 weeks off of work.
Anyway, like
you had
as
a
I
job.
said, like I have a rifle that I'll never get rid of, and they've certainly changed. Like Caleb, I presume you'll never get rid of your 308, your Tigger.
Probs not.
Probs not. So would you make
Probs
it
not,
a legacy?
Yeah, no, I probably won't get rid of it.
No, probably. Or do you want to make?
I
it a
will never
legacy?
get rid of it, Josh. Do you want it in writing?
Yes, please.
Fuck.
Yes, I'd like you to sign it.
I will not get rid of it.
Yeah, thank you.
And then when you're like 50 years old and you're trying to sell your guns to get a better one, and Josh is like, "You said right here that you cut."
I will pass
The point-
it down.
the
I
point
fucking love the
being-
thing, and it's going to last. So I will pass it down.
The point being is like having something to pass down, whether it's a fancy knife or a rifle. You can start that legacy now. My legacy was started with my grandfather passing down his 22 that I would never ever sell.
And it feels good to start something like that. I think as a parent,
That's what I mean. You can start. You don't have to be the third generation down to start it. You can just start it now.
But it's like I've got a for those playing at home that may not know, I'm a bit of a cigar fanatic. I've got a humidor that my ex-wife got for me, but my family crest is going to be engraved in it, and that's going to be what I'm going to hand down to my son, as well as my guns. But it's as a parent, I think it feels like you're contributing and leaving a legacy and leaving something that will last longer than what you will. With that, I think it's like that's like the opposite end of it. As someone receiving something that's like it has that sentimental value that your forefathers have had, you grab that and you can feel the history behind it. As someone who starts that, it feels really fucking good to be able to have and start something that would be handed down through generations, and you're starting a fucking thing that could be 100 years old.
Yeah, that's it.
Very good.
And, in 100 years old, it could be that topic of you're sitting around the dinner table with your, new family members or whatever, great grandson and his kids, and it's a part of meeting the family. It's like, oh, well, this is who I am. This is my great grandfather's rifle, 100 years time.
Yeah, and it means something like that. And it gives you like that sense of family. It's that sense of connection to people as well, instead of it just being a name or something that's written down.
Just like Ned Kelly, he basically is the structure of Australia's family. Man, it's like it's our biggest icon.
Everyone knows Ned Kelly.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter what generation you are. You know who Ned Kelly is.
Yeah.
That's
So
the word martyr might be a bit more of an appropriate application here, but it's what
I don't think he gave his life for the cause like a martyr. I think
he was made a martyr in the sense of he was the underdog that stood against the bigger man. The bigger man got him in the end, but they also turned him into a historic icon.
Yeah, but it also changed the way of thinking for an entire nation, I think.
Definitely changed the perspective of being trodden on. Like the guy that came and had nothing could push back and make an impact. I think that's like that. And everyone who it's definitely, there's a stereotype with it, which is an association with the lower demographic of Australia, where there's the whole such is life and that association that gets tattooed on people, and they bring that as
many tattoos.
So many fucking tattoos. The Southern Cross, such is life, like that like playing the underdog but you have that as a portrayal of being someone who doesn't give up. So I think that is the sense of martyrship.
symbolism.
The symbolism of it, yeah. That's probably a better way of saying it. Yeah, the symbolism, the representation. Simba.
For those playing at home, Josh did the fucking
The little finger across the
swipe the
Rafiki.
gourd and mud or whatever the fuck is that Rafiki smears across Simba's head.
Rafiki. You can remember that. Good God.
I have 5-year-olds. I've watched The Lion King about 20 fucking times.
What's the last night?
It's my daughter's favourite movie.
And the new version,
Anyway,
which is terrible.
let's move on.
All right, just saying, by the way, we're on track for this to be the longest episode yet. So
Oh, geez, we are. We
look at
really
us
are. That's a
talking about
record.
family and getting slightly deep.
Wow.
All right, let's move on.
ND.
ND. All right, so
Oh, don't fucking pre-announce it. I'll press the fucking button, mate.
ND.
ND.
Negligent discharge.
I feel like that was,
Stop
feel like that
fucking
was
stop
completely-
talking over it.
Stop going off in the holster, Josh. Fuck.
I feel like that was completely ruined by
You fucked it.
prefix. That's all.
Number one rule: don't fuck it. You broke the rule.
No, it was fucked right.
Ryan, bring us around a short, sharp, and shiny
short, sharp,
ND.
and fucking shiny ND. So I recently have sources, very legitimate sources, that have given me a bit of insight into SAPOL's handling or training or all of the above of the firearms process, I guess, is a way of putting it. So how it comes about that your name gets put down on a list and then you get your
Hang on. You said the firearms process, the firearms audit process.
Firearms audit process. Sorry, I missed a word out there.
You did.
Firearms audit process, SAPOL, negligent discharge is definitely going to them. So
Why?
I recently discovered from a very, very legitimate source,
A reputable
a
source.
very reputable source, that the police do not get any training in identifying anything about a firearm other than serial number, the safe and how it should be kept, and whether or not the person is deemed able to have a firearm. And that is it. So if you got a semi-automatic or an automatic, let's just jump the gun there. Let's go, pun intended. If you get an automatic rifle and put it next to a bolt-action rifle, your average police officer will not be able to tell the difference between
I feel
the two.
like Call of Duty's ruined that. And they'll be like, oh, that's a
Nah,
sick-
man. Because
So hang on. So what if you're saying if a noob police officer comes to your house to an audit on your safe,
even a seasoned officer,
they are just looking for a certain, like what you've just listed there, and if they happen to find an illegal firearm in your safe and it has the serial number they're looking for on it,
Yep.
and whatever other details, they can't necessarily identify that is actually an illegal.
they could not tell. If you got a 22, like this is your average copper, and given there'd be shooters, coppers that are shooters as well, but your average copper and the courses that they go through, if you got a automatic 308 and put the serial number of a bolt action 22 on it and had the paperwork for that bolt action 22, they would not be able to tell the difference between the two, and you would be able to fly through your audit.
I'd hope that's not true.
They get zero training, zero firearms training from the perspective of being able to identify what is what and what it looks like, how it operates. They just don't get that. All they get is serial numbers, safe. Specs. Like, so if you should have cameras and whether it's bolted down, that sort of thing, and then whether you're fit to own it. That's it. And
See,
even then, like there's the safe checks are supposed to be carried out by all officers, and they've got a list that they have access to, which is associated with it's connected to the firearms branch database, and they're supposed to be carrying out on the downtime in quotations. They're supposed to be carrying out safe checks quite regularly. I've never been checked, and I've been a firearms owner for I don't know how many years now. Have you been checked, Caleb?
No.
Have you been checked, Josh?
Yeah.
When? In how many years that you've owned firearms
Once.
since you were fucking 12.
Yeah, once. Not more. My dad owned them.
So once in 20 years.
But once, yeah. And it was actually a little bit embarrassing. So there was a few things. They come in, they said they were going to do their check. That was all cool. We took them to the safe. We opened the safe up. We obviously started pulling out the firearms, and they checked the serial numbers and things like that. Towards the end, they actually were like, oh, where's this firearm? And gave us a serial number, this firearm with this serial number. And then they didn't know what it was, so they had to read off the sheet actually. Oh, it's a category B, it's a bolt action, it's a 223 or whatever. And I had turned around and I said, look, my father and I, because they did it simultaneously with my father's and my safe, because at that stage I was living at home. And I'm like, oh, look, me and Dad have sold these rifles years and years and years ago through the gun shop as well, a gun shop, I don't know which one. And we're like, we haven't owned them. And they're like, oh, they're still on your record. I'm like, mate, no, we haven't owned them. We ended up actually having to write a stat deck saying that we didn't own them
Fucking
and
hell.
send them back to the police. And and saying that we'd sold them or got rid of them or whatever, etc., etc. And then that was all fine. They were actually very, very good with that. And look, they were polite, they were courteous, they were safe, and they were just doing their checks and balances, and that's fine. The thing that stood out to me, though, so there was a younger police officer and an older police officer. Turns out the older police officer is a shooter. The younger police officer wasn't. My mum come in and started talking to him, offering him a cup of tea, etc., etc. And my mum was like, "Oh, so what pistol do you carry?" Talking to the young police officer, and the young police officer turned around and said, "I don't know what it's called. I don't know what it is. I just know how to shoot it." And my mum's turned around and gone, "If you're carrying a pistol," and my mum is not a shooter per se.
Yeah, but she's
Been
been
around you and
associated
your old man
with
enough.
shooting for a very long time.
Yes, okay, yeah, but she's not a shooter. But she was like, shouldn't that be something that you should know if it's a requirement to carry every day? And the older police officer was so embarrassed. You could tell that he was just going to rip into this dude as soon as they got into the car and drove off. He was so embarrassed, man. And I'm just like, well, that's kind of a thing. It's like, it's called being a professional. It's part of
You know
job.
your tools.
Yeah.
You fucking know your tools. You should be able to. You should know everything about it. The same way you should know everything about his pepper spray, everything about his cuffs, everything about his radio, everything that you carry as a tool in any industry, in any occupation.
Should be the subject matter expert.
You should be the expert. It is your profession.
Especially if it's something as predominant as a firearm. They should.
Oh shit, yeah. Especially when it's the coppers that make all the fucking rules. For Christ's sake,
Police officer, yeah.
that's a bit hypocritical.
Yeah.
It's very fucking
You
hypocritical.
being politically correct, Joshua.
Oh,
Nah, look,
I'm
I think.
I'm for police officers.
Oh shit,
mate.
yeah, fuck yeah, and
so-
the coppers only know what they're taught,
And that's
this is
the thing,
not a
I think
this is not a
there's-
reflection on the police officers
all.
themselves
Yeah.
at all.
We're
I
not
think
bagging
there's-
SAPOL. What this speaks to is the level of funding and training.
That's it. I think
Yeah.
there needs to be some slack and some education, like proper education.
So if you want to uncover people, firearm owners who are doing the wrong thing, maybe send some subject matter experts to do the audits.
We said that's the thing. I
Yeah.
don't actually think there are, minus the police officers that shoot in their own time, I don't actually think there are subject matter experts.
But you could train some.
Yeah, that's the thing. They need to be trained. And the reason why I say this is simply because there are a lot of people in the firearms branch who are making law that don't comprehend.
They don't know fuck all about firearms.
Yeah,
That's
they
that's
don't
that's
comprehend
literally
firearms.
it. They know fuck all about
Look,
firearms and they're making
I'm not.
the laws.
I'm not having a go, and I'm not trying to stir the pot or anything like that. There's a bridge that needs to be gapped. Yes, I'm not trying to say that people aren't doing their job correctly. They're only doing what they're trained to do.
Exactly. They don't know
and
any
that's their
better.
scope.
I think what it is a incompetence is the word here, and that's not from the police officers. That's from the people that are creating the curriculum in which these officers are being trained, and they're the ones that are
It's
creating.
also about budget, man. I think you'll find that a lot of it
you can
comes down to
have.
budget.
All you need to do is sit an hour and a half course. A firearms license requires you to sit a course that gives you enough information to be able to know enough and
So you've
identify
got to
enough.
have money to have that person to come in and
If
talk
you-
to them
you-
and educate
no,
them.
all they need to do is have someone who knows something about something go through the fucking academy. They go to the academy for 6 fucking months, man. How hard is it?
Yeah,
Well,
I think there's more pressing things like knowing law.
They spend more time on traffic control laws than they do on anything else.
Yes, and look, we're not saying that it certainly needs to be addressed and fixed, yes, but I think you'll find that there's a bit of a budget issue.
If what you're saying is true, Ryan, and that the task of auditing firearms owners is just something they do as a filler when they've got nothing else to do, then of course they're not going to pour resourcing into.
Oh, the dig isn't at resourcing, right? I understand that.
Yeah.
The dig is at the fact that you've got people who
don't know what they're talking
are
about
not
doing
being,
an audit.
They're not being equipped with the right knowledge to be able to do their job properly. That's what the negligent discharge is here. And my massive fucking sticking point here is that you've got the firearms branch and the high up officers in SAPOL that don't dictate, but they contribute largely a majority opinion, if you will, to the laws of firearms. And these people have no fucking idea what they're talking about.
Yeah, look, and once again, it's just an educational thing, and yes, it needs to be.
It's a massive problem, and this is what most people don't understand. They have a law that gets passed that is the laws are so hypocritical and contradictory that we have to try to abide to now, which we've had heated discussions about. And this is something that gets me worked up because I cannot stand an application to the general public that comes from someone who knows fuck all about what they're talking about.
They can't enforce what they don't know. You are right. How do you expect a police officer to enforce laws about firearms and things like that if they don't know about them? That is the issue. If you're going to enforce it, you need to be proficient at knowing about it.
And they could quite easily outsource audits. Quite easily.
Once again, that's a money thing and that's a budget thing. It's
I get what you're saying. I mean, fuck, there would be people within the shooting industry that would volunteer for that shit.
No, I don't think they'd volunteer. I think you'd want to be paid for it.
No, I think that there would be members that would volunteer their time.
They have to have the power to be able to.
It's the same as it's a justice of the peace. Well, justice of the peace is a volunteer. And they sign off and shit all the time.
They have to have the power, if there is an indiscretion, to be able to act accordingly. Now, whether that's, okay, you've got to come down to the police station. So that means they basically have to have the rights as a police officer.
No, it wouldn't be. It'd be a transfer. It'd be a transfer of power. So they would go through, they'd run through the audit. You either pass or you fail. Your fail gets transferred to the police. The police come down, they handle it.
Yeah, you see,
how many?
That's fair. I mean, the vast majority of firearm owners would be doing the right thing.
Exactly right.
100%. But if that transfer of power gives someone time, they can fix that indiscretion and then they can simply turn around and be like, no, I'm fine. This is what it was like. I adhere to the law. You're starting to get into a
net result though. They've corrected a wrong.
Yes,
the person who was doing the wrong thing is now doing the right thing.
And they've freed up the resources of the police officers to chase the bad guys.
Exactly.
Yes.
A fucking oath, it's the way they should go. If they outsource checks, then it would be it's essentially the same principle of what a justice of the peace is. They're not a judge. They're someone who signs off on small shit.
Or just train them accordingly if they're going to do.
I didn't even think that. I think safe checks is a waste of fucking time.
I don't.
You got to do it, but what you don't want to do is swing too far in the other direction and have some anal retentive twat come around and be a dick.
That is true. I mean, if and you're right, I'd say a vast majority of people, if you've got a registered firearm that the police can track, the likelihood of you being a criminal is very small. The likelihood of you being smart enough to be able to conceal that for an extended period of time is even smaller as a criminal. So I just think that it should be outsourced. Outsource it to people that have the appropriate training. Give it, fuck me, the salary and the overtime that coppers get paid, you could have that cut down by a significant percentage if you outsourced it, even if you're paying people.
No, because it's done in their shift.
But it's not done in their shift. This is what we're talking about. So it's done when they are not busy with something else.
It's done in their downtime, essentially.
Yes, in their downtime. It's still in their shift. It's still within their shift. So there's no overtime or anything.
And when would that be? That'd be like middle of the day. So typically the majority of crime happens at night time, right? So the middle of the day, most people are out. I've never been.
Do you have the statistics on that, Ryan?
I do actually. If you want to
fuck off! You don't. You just have statistics in your brain for every fucking thing. Get out of it.
I read a lot. So I've not been audited because I'm never home. Not home during the typical operating hours of when there would be downtime.
Well, the audits have to happen within certain hours anyway. I can't remember what it is.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. They can't rock up to your house at 3 a.m, man, and expect you to do a firearms audit. That's fair. Not unless they have cause to be raiding your house or something like that. But no, if it's like past bedtime, I guess you're not going to get audited.
Well, that's subjective.
I don't know.
Fuck.
It is.
It's 7:30, Mr. Officer. It's past my bedtime. You cannot be here.
Maybe that speaks to why it just happens in their downtime then, because most people would be at work when they rock up.
Yeah.
So all right, Johnny, let's do a firearms order. Oh, they're not home. Oh, well, let's go.
Yeah, that makes
chances are they probably knocked on your door, man, and you haven't been home, and they've just had to go. Like, chances that's happened.
I have a camera on my doorbell.
It's because you're a weirdo.
Yeah, you got a camera other places, don't you?
I look at the recordings of you late at night.
It's got one in the toilet bowl that looks up.
it's a shit cam.
I'm constantly having to clean
It's
the blood off it every time you use it.
It's a floater that never flushes.
Oh, dear. All right, that's enough of our
We're
babble.
done. We've waffled.
Yeah.
This is the record, the world record. Send it, mate. Waffle.
Yeah, man. We're breaking records here. All right, what have we got next week, Caleb?
We have the topic life or death. That has the potential to get morbid. It has the potential to be
Fucking rainbows and lollipops, sunshine.
lollipops, indeed.
I think we need to bring this back to hunting because, God, it's getting real weird.
All of that was relevant.
More
All
of
that
a
was
serious
relevant.
episode, man.
We're allowed to get deep, Josh. Are you scared of getting deep and emotional and personal?
I don't mind getting deep, but
I
just
like
not with
getting-
you boys.
Deep in the box.
Balls deep. Balls deep. All right, ladies and gentlemen,
Deep.
I'll wrap us up. Thanks for listening. Once again, we've been Centre Mate Podcast. I'm Caleb,
I'm Josh.
And I'm Ryan.
and that is our exit.
Peace out, motherfuckers. Thank you for listening.
Catch you later.
Catch ya. Thanks for listening.
Hit us up, send it, mate. Podcast, Instagram, on Spotify. Do it.
Join us next week for Life or Death.
I have to take a piss.
G'day, dude and dudettes. Josh here. Do you find it hard to keep your long, hard barrels free from gun STDs? Maybe you need a clean out of your bore. If this is you, jump on over to highcaliber.com.au and use the promo code SENDITMATE to receive a 10% discount on all your gun cleaning needs. And remember, it's sexy to support Australian-made products. Everyone here at Send It Mate uses high caliber, and we can promise you that it'll keep your firearms free from those pesky gun STDs.